Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 25 minutes before 11 o'clock, it is time to speak with Congressman Richard Nugent. U.S. Representative Richard Nugent represents District 11 up in Washington, D.C. on behalf of us here in Marion County and other districts here in Florida. It is 25 minutes before 11, and you need to know what date it is, so that way you know if you're listening to a live broadcast. It is Monday, December 16th, 2013. If that's the same date on your calendar, then you are listening to a live broadcast. Monday, December 16th, 2013. The last segment with Matt Gibbs, our favorite mechanic, was so good because the listeners were calling in and talking about their great experiences with Matt. And politics is the same thing as far as trust, and that's the one thing I want to make a connection here. Is the one thing about Congressman Nugent is he's been on the air nearly every week, or at least every other week, I guess that's how the schedule is, to talk to his constituents, and there's nothing more gratifying to know that somebody who's called a representative is literally listening to his constituents so that he can represent optimally. I'm not coming up with a good word there, but you get the point. Congressman Richard Nugent, I'm stumbling over your intro, but I try to make it a good one. Good morning.
You always do. And listen, I just want to, first of all, wish you and staff and all the listeners a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year in case we don't get to that, and just whatever holidays they're celebrating too. We just really wish them the best.
Well, thank you for that. And before we go to the phone, do you have anything you want to open with, or you want to go straight to the phones?
No, we can go right to the phones. That's not a problem.
Okay, all right, let's do that then. Good morning. Thank you for calling in. You're on the air with Congressman Nugent.
Good morning, Congressman.
Good morning.
I am so disappointed with the leader of the House and the other Republicans on what they're all of a sudden going along with this increase of spending and all this to save maybe $2 billion at the end of 10 years, and it's just to me they just cave in as usual. I would love for somebody to find their spine, namely Boehner, and stick with a decision, because everybody thinks that the Republicans just shut the government down. No, we're trying to limit spending, and the Democrats shut government down. Sorry. And what happens? We cave in, and now they're going to start, the old spending tree, right down the chimney, et cetera, and it's going to have to stop. One way or the other, it will stop. You got a sorry one somewhere out in outer space with 100 trillion zeros behind it, and one day that one is going to disappear, and you can have all the zeros you want. You're not going to be able to buy a loaf of bread with zeros, and unfortunately, this is what the anti-Americans in Washington are going to do to our dollar, and when the dollar goes, so goes the country. And I'm afraid we'll wind up being the world's first fourth world country. And I'm just wondering what you have to say about that, because to me, it's not if, it's when. I'll hang up and listen to your comments, sir. And I appreciate what you're doing, and appreciate you being on the air, and Merry Christmas to you, sir.
Merry Christmas.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you. He's always right on the money. At the end of the day, we keep pushing the inevitable, further and further down the road. But the time will come when we pay the piper. And that, unfortunately, is closer than we think. And I'm not alarmist. I mean, I look at where we are and the debt we're in, and when we do things that are more gimmicks in regards to cutting spending, and that's unfortunately what just occurred with this the last budget compromise. Well, part of it, I'll be honest with you, I had a real difficult time. I voted no. But I had a real difficult time because as it related particularly to the sequester and what it's doing to our military, and you've heard me talk about it on this radio show numerous times about the damage sequester is doing to our readiness and our armed forces. And I have firsthand knowledge because all three of my kids are in the Army, and so I hear and see where they are and what's going on with them, and the lack of support. But one of the things that made it real easy for me to vote no on this budget deal was the fact that they actually tried to balance the budget on the backs of those who have served this country and have retired, honorably after 20 or more years dedicated service to this country and and the sacrifices they've had to go through, and you try to balance the budget on the back of those folks, and then to even make it worse, not only did they, the budget savings come from their retirement, COLA, but it also came from those that were retired out of military service because of disability they incurred while in the service of their country. And you're going to cut their COLA by 1%. And I just, honestly, my vote no was for a whole bunch of reasons, but the biggest one is I was trying to send leadership a message, and they heard it, trust me, because they came to me on the House floor after I voted no and were challenging me on that vote, and I told them, here's the problem, is that A, you misled me, telling me that those cuts were not going to affect those that were retired because of their disability they incurred while serving their country. And in fact, when I questioned Paul Ryan in the Rules Committee the night before, he admitted that it did in fact cut COLA to those that, have been disabled in the service of their country and retired. I just, my whole idea is that you got to send leadership a message, and my message to them, and they heard it loud and clear with my no vote, was that you don't balance the budget on the back of our retirees. I mean, I've gone to the Budget Committee and argued in regards to protecting those that are currently on Social Security and those near-term Social Security beneficiaries and Medicare beneficiaries. We need to address the growing cost of those programs, but you don't do it on the backs of those that have worked their entire lives and have, given to this country, and not just takers. And we seem to reward takers more than we reward those that have worked their entire lives. And so that's, that was my stance, and it made it very easy to vote no, even though I had a lot of problems, like the last caller had mentioned, in regards to the fact that, we're really, it was sort of gimmicky in regards to how they're going to save money. Because what I've seen in Washington, D.C., you can put those things in place, but 5-6 years down the road, they never come to fruition.
And rather than the newspapers printing why you would vote no, they dragged you through what they believed was the problem with Congress, with people who vote no for things like that. It just seems so one-sided when you don't see explanations, or they don't allow explanations to be printed so that intelligent dialogue can take place from both sides.
Well, I mean, we have 115,000 veterans in the 11th District of Florida. That's 1/6 of the voting of the folks that live and work. But these are all folks that have served their country, and I think that somebody needs to be fighting for them because they fought for us.
Yeah, right.
I was just at the National Cemetery on Saturday for Wreaths Across America. What a fantastic event it was down at Bushnell at the National Cemetery for our veterans, and they placed over 7,000 wreaths on veterans' tombstones. It was just an amazing sight, an amazing opportunity to.
The phone number, if you'd like to speak to Congressman Nugent right now, is 352-622-9622. That's 352-622-9622. That's the WOCA Climate Control Source Hotline. It is Monday, December 16th, just so you know if you're listening to a live show or not. And we do have a caller. Good morning. You're on there with Congressman Nugent.
Thanks, Larry. Congressman Nugent, good morning, sir. I'm a Marine Corps veteran and a Democrat, but I do thank you every time I spoke to you. I do thank you for your service. I consider, regardless of the person's party affiliation, what you're doing is an act of patriotism. I know you and your family make sacrifices, and as just a plain old citizen, I do appreciate that, and I mean that. I would ask the Congressman, sir. I'm going to throw out a couple things to you, and I'll hang up and catch your take on some issues if you don't mind. I get a lot of my information from votevets.org. I see that the suicide rate for 2013 for American servicemen has gone down 20%. So I would like to mention that to yourself, sir, if you're not aware of that fact. And I would also ask you how you stand when it comes to Kristen Gillibrand's push to hand the prosecution of rape over to civilian authorities, and take the burden off the chain of command in the American military. I, as a veteran, would support her in that. I know I know she's a United States senator, but I wonder where you would stand on it as a congressman. And the other thing is, not to be so political and bring it back to Ocala, sir. Could you speak to the audience about your position concerning the New York Yankees minor league team and the Federal Express opportunities for moving here from a positive standpoint to put us veterans back to work, even though I'm employed, sir? Thank you, and simplify.
Simplify.
Okay, thank you.
A great comment in regards to his observation in regards to suicide rate in the military. And, you know, what an unfortunate thing that is. And we've talked about that, you know, when I got put on armed services here in January of this year. That was one of the issues that we talked about the most, and what we could do to make sure that we had the resources available to be able to reach out to those members of the military and their families in regards to helping them cope with, you know, the pressures of life and the pressures of repeated deployments, but just the pressures of life as it relates, you know, everything from family on down. The caller also mentioned, you know, about rape, and that's been a huge discussion within the Armed Services Committee. You know, there's two sides. That one side wants to keep it within the chain of command because they feel like, you know, because it is the military, the chain of command is the best way to move an issue forward. My personal opinion on rape, though, is it puts the commanders in a real tough spot when you have a member of their command, you know, charging another member of their command with sexual assault or rape. I would think it would be easier for the command to have a separate way to move that particular case through, because rape cases are unique in regards to how you talk to the victim, how you collect evidence, and all those things from my past experience in law enforcement. I think you need to have a gentler touch in regards to dealing with allegations of sexual assault within the military. And I have, you know, while I understand the chain of command issue, I have no problem with moving it out of the chain of command. Now, I'm going to get a lot of grief over that from some folks. Not that I don't have any, you know, I don't have any particular issues with the chain of command, but I just think of all the issues that our military has to deal with, that's one that is really an issue that has been growing in discussions up on the Hill. So that's one that's not done yet. I would tell you that that discussion is going to continue on. And I think those of us that would lean towards doing that are going to be asking the tough questions in regards to, okay, we've kept it within a chain of command. How is it working, and what are the results, and are the victims of sexual assault being heard and being dealt with correctly? So as we move forward, that's going to be my take in the hearings that'll come forward over the next year in regards to, you know, how well is the new regulations that are being put in place, how are those working in regards to protecting all the members of our military? And lastly, on the Yankees or Federal Express, obviously I'm for anything that brings jobs, almost anything that brings jobs into Marion County, the district in total, because it is about, at the end of the day, everything that we do is about, how do we encourage businesses to locate within our jurisdiction? How do we encourage businesses that are currently here to expand? And one way is to, bring additional folks coming to Marion County in particular to spend their tax dollars, whether it's in a hotel or a restaurant or shopping or any other item. All those things are good. And, something like Federal Express, what a great opportunity that is for to employ people that currently, don't have a job, particularly for our vets that are returning, giving them opportunities for a job. I'm all for anything that increases the jobs in the county. And I think most people, when they sit back, it's always tough. There's always, there's always pros and cons to any development. But I think when you look at it from strictly job creation standpoint, you have to say, wow, that is great. And it also, entices other folks or businesses to relocate to the county. And it draws a lot of tax dollars in from people outside the county. So it's just not dependent upon, county residents and city residents to foot the bill.
Yeah, ultimately it should be up to the voters themselves, and I guess
absolutely.
And I guess that's the big issue as to whether it will be put up before the voters. I guess that's the issue.
I don't weigh in on those types of issues only because it is a very local issue, obviously. But like I said, I'm always supportive of anything that creates additional jobs. So.
Yeah. And the phone number is 622-WOCA if you'd like to speak to Congressman Richard Nugent. And let's take a call. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Congressman. It's Sonny again.
Sonny.
I'm just curious as to, we hear all these reports about 1.7 billion rounds of ammunition that was bought by government and the buying of light to medium tanks that are stashed around the country along with this ammunition. Is somebody in Washington anticipating a major catastrophe where martial law will be declared? And if they are, well, if we're talking about spending again, how come nobody's auditing all this stuff that's going on currently? And I would suggest to anybody that's concerned is that word, audit. Audit everything. Figures don't lie. Liars can figure, but the figures don't lie. I'll hang up and listen to what you have to say about that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I used to use that all the time at budget time when we would go up, with the county commissioners, figures lying, liars figures, or however you want to interpret those. But, one on the ammunition, and we've been pressing that question, and I know others in oversight have been pressing that question. Part of the response to us is that what it did was it set a benchmark as the high number of, what the top number of rounds is, and what kind of a contract price they could get for that over, my last recollection was over a 4-year period. Those rounds weren't actually purchased, obviously somewhere, but and we would do this at the sheriff's office, try to say, okay, well, over the next X amount of years, we're attempt to purchase X amount of rounds, and that gives us the best buying power. And once again, it's across ICE and a number of agencies that make up Homeland Security. But the other one in regards to, and I think Sonny's talking about the MRAPs, there was something put on the internet where they had purchased hundreds of MRAPs. I will tell you that's absolutely not true. I do know that they purchased 5 or 6 MRAPs, and I have no idea why they would even need 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a contract put out to refurbish these MRAPs, and that was where that gross number came from, and that was actually the Army number, and the Homeland Security had 5 or 6 that were put into that. So that was in our conversations with those in oversight. That's what was explained to us, because we had the same concern when I read that internet post. But I read a lot of stuff on the internet, and some of it's true, some of it is kind of an exaggeration. But in most of them, there is always a basis of truth in most of those. There's always that nugget there that there's a basis of truth for. So there's a number of members that have put forth resolutions, put forth phone calls and letters to Homeland Security to get better answers. I still haven't got a satisfactory answer as to why you would buy or at least put in that you're going to purchase X amount of
right
4 years, when I can see that if it's for training rounds, and we always every year we refreshed all the ammo that our deputies carry, but it's not to that extent. And they said a lot of those are training rounds. Well, you don't buy hollow points for training, and I'll just tell you that it's way too expensive. It's a waste of money, and that was my letter to Homeland Security, which I don't think I've ever gotten a response to. Is how many training rounds do you buy, and is this all part and parcel of the training rounds? Because if you're buying hollow points for training, that's duty ammunition, and duty ammo costs more money. But training rounds, you get them for a lot less dollars, because you're using, usually an aluminum cased, that you're not worried about, and you don't want, if they jam. It's actually part of the training exercise, but you don't want that happening, for duty ammo. So
yeah, right.
We've never gotten a real clear answer on it, because I don't think, I'll be honest with you, there's very little accountability up in D.C. All the departments up there. You've seen it. We see it every day. There's no accountability, even in the rollout of the, Obamacare, Affordable Health Care Act.
Right.
No accountability, and what a debacle that's been. But you can go, you back it up, everything to the IRS, to Fast and Furious, to Benghazi, and the only way accountability is going to happen is because Congress keeps pushing the investigations and the oversight, and we will get to the bottom of every one of those things. May or may not be to our liking, but we're going to get to the bottom of what occurred. And that's what Congress. Part of Congress is one of the main responsibilities of Congress is oversight of the executive branch, and so we are certainly doing that. I don't sit on the oversight committee, but I do have some oversight powers when we sit in armed services.
So you have to get back up. Where are you right now? Are you here in Florida?
Oh my gosh, I'm home, man. This is thank goodness. We got one of our sons are coming in from Fort Riley, Kansas for Christmas.
Oh, great.
We'll have our other one here that lives here that is a Florida Army National Guard helicopter pilot, and so we're the older one's still in Germany, but he'll be back in March. So we're excited just to have 2 of them for Christmas.
Well, just again, as we close, thank you again for what you do in Congress. Thank you for taking the time out every other week to be on the air with us here and to talk to us all and answer our questions about the things that often we don't, like your frustration with trying to get a letter back. That's the same frustration we feel when we try to communicate with Congress, but you are the exception. We get through to you right here, right on the radio. So,
well, it's been a real pleasure and honor to serve Marion County, in particular because we took Marion County up this year into the district. And let me tell you, folks that live in Marion County, you have such a beautiful county to live in, and all of our counties that make up the 11th district, Citrus, Sumter, Hernando, and a little bit of Lake, I think add a unique touch to Florida versus, when you go down to, South Florida and the beaches. This is just more of God's country in my estimation, so it's been a real pleasure.
Yeah, well, thank you. So next week, let's see, you won't be on, and then the following week it'll be after Christmas before New Year's. I guess we'll play it by ear, see what happens, huh?
We'll see what happens. Absolutely, but we're having it's just like I said, it's just great to be back in Florida and back home amongst folks, and going to church yesterday and seeing all the folks in our congregation. It's just always great.
Congressman, thank you so much for all you do, and have a Merry Christmas.
Well, Merry Christmas to you too. Have a great one. God bless.
All right, we'll take a little break and be right back.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
ABC News Now. I'm Karen Chase. Finals have been canceled at Harvard and 4 buildings evacuated on campus in the face of a phoned-in bomb threat. The state police and ATF are investigating. Holiday shoppers nationwide are being urged to exercise caution after the deadly carjacking in the parking lot of a high-end New Jersey shopping mall. Police are searching for 2 men who shot and killed a man and sped off in his Range Rover. Bond has been denied to an Ohio man accused of killing a 9-year-old girl and dumping her body in a trash bin. You've been working harder. The Labor Department says worker productivity grew 3% in the third quarter. Labor costs fell. Few people will be working harder than those who deliver for you. Postal officials expect to move over 600 million pieces of mail through the system on this, their busiest day of the year. For UPS, it's the biggest pickup day with over 34 million packages. The Mega Millions jackpot is about to get so big, lottery officials are going to need a bigger billboard. The prize will be at least $550 million for tomorrow night's drawing and could reach $1 billion if nobody hits it. This is ABC News.
I have 2 cats and 2 dogs. All 4 of them are on the Dynavite. The stuff is amazing. The first day that I gave Sweet Pea and Daisy the Dynavite for cats, I did add a little bit of the Lick-a Chops, and they absolutely loved it. All the vitamins, the minerals, they also enjoyed the Num-Nums, the Nub-Nubs or whatever they're called, the treats that also came along with it. DINOVITE.com.
859-428-1000.
They're just running through the house. They're playing. My Sweet Pea will walk in front of me. She'll stop where she's at, drop, and roll onto her back, and then expect me to rub her belly, just like a kitten. Daisy and Sweet Pea have a cat tree in my living room, and lately she's been climbing up to the top, jumping up there, and then she'll climb back down, and then she's right back up again. Oh, I'm sorry. I wish they would make a product for us humans to give us the same amount of energy and spunk that Dynavite for cats are given for my cats. The phone number is 859-428-1000.
859-428-1000.
DINOVITE.com.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Life jackets save lives. Wear it, Florida. After some morning clouds, it'll turn out partly to mostly sunny later today with a high in the mid to upper 60s. Then mainly clear and chilly tonight. Lows ranging from the low 40s inland to about 53 along the coast. Tomorrow, a beautiful day with sunshine, the high 68 to 72. Wednesday, more the same. Good deal of sunshine, the high again 68 to 72. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
You're listening to WOCA News Talk 1370, Ocala's source for what's happening in today's hottest, up-to-date news and topics.
Stay informed on everything going on in the Villages with the Village Spectator newspaper. The Village Spectator is exclusively devoted to the Villages with news, commentary, and more. And yes, they have Tom's Picks, a free referral for people who are looking for a company to do work for them. Tom's Picks will refer the company that fits your needs, and all we ask is that you tell them where you heard about them. Call Tom's Picks at 804-1223 and pick up your copy of the Village Spectator today.
Now read Ocala Downtown newspaper online.
Legally Yours, brought to you by Fuller & Fuller Attorneys at Law. On the air every Wednesday morning at 10:30 a.m. with John Fuller, a board-certified civil trial lawyer for over 25 years. John welcomes your questions, from business to complex family matters to legal disputes. So tune in every Wednesday morning at 10:30 a.m. for Legally Yours with John Fuller, right here on WOCA 1370 a.m. and 96.3 FM, The Source.
Hi, Sydney Blue.
Gene Powell pasture mowing. Our tractor services include bush hog, disking, front end loader, box blade, and stump grinding. We also have zero-turn mowers for the smaller paddocks, aisleways, fence rows, and lawn care. Fence row spraying is also available for weed control. We are licensed and insured. Gene Powell Pasture Mowing, 352-629-2440, or online at powellgene, Gene, @yahoo.com. Gene Powell Pasture Mowing.
Habitat for Humanity of Marion County is a ministry dedicated to improving lives by providing affordable and decent housing. Help them help others by visiting the Habitat for Humanity Ocala home store on Northwest 27th Avenue. To schedule a donation, give them a call and they'll come and pick it up. For more information, visit habitatocala.org. Habitat for Humanity